Yo, what's up guys? So this is Vaush. He's a communist YouTuber who obviously does not believe in the equal distribution of food. Behind him is an undisclosed hominoid who just happens to be his girlfriend. They both do not believe in the equal distribution of food. How shocking.
I want all the onions!
You see, Vaush and his girlfriend could feed all of Africa for 5 years for just 1 day of their calorie intake. I'm just kidding. The point of this video is not to rip on Vaush's disturbing appearance. The point of this video is to discuss whether Vaush is a cult. And I don't mean Vaush necessarily as the person. I mean Vaush as this personification of soy-boy white guilt that he's the figurehead of. I made a video recently debunking Vaush's viral TikTok video where he says people of color in America have it worse than non-whites on every level and every person of color. And my point of the video was that person of color is a silly label because people of color, non-whites, aren't a monolith. To group them all together as if they all have the same experiences and troubles is deeply, deeply retarded. For instance, Asian Americans live longer, get shot by the police less, incarcerated less, and earn more per capita than white Americans. So lumping these people of colors together, it kind of misleads the audience into thinking, oh, the poor non-whites. No, some non-white groups are actually doing better than white groups. So to get views on this video, I went to Vaush's Reddit and BreadTube to advertise this video. And of course, I got a lot of views, like 3,500 views. But I also got a lot of smooth brain commies that have come to my page just to insult me. And I've left up the comments that actually do have some kind of a rebuttal, even though their rebuttals are wrong, but I've been deleting hundreds of just hateful comments every day since. I pinned this comment to clarify, hey guys, so I spammed BreadTube and Vaush's Reddit. All the downvotes are coming from a troll army of smooth brain commies. The point of the video was to challenge Vaush on this smooth brain point that non-whites have it worse than European Americans. I used 4 key metrics that are often used to justify the notion of white privilege when comparing against the black-white differences in life expectancy, incarceration rates, police shootings, and income per capita. Not once did I deny the existence of systemic racism, specifically systemic racism against blacks and Hispanics. All of the comments coming from these commies are strawmans. Don't be fooled by Vaush. He's the leftist Ben Shapiro. He lacklusters with big words and quick speaking, but substance he brings is often empty. And here is the first commie. So you are arguing that systemic racism exists and that different minority groups face different levels of persecution based on their historical relationship with white America. I don't know how this debunks white privilege in any way. Just because certain Asian ethnic groups are doing well by some socioeconomic standards in America does not mean that they are more or even equally privileged. Asians are still underrepresented in politics and media and have faced increasing racial discrimination this year as a result of Trump's Kung Flu dog whistle. Plus, grouping 3/4 of a continent filled with a wide variety of ethnic groups under the umbrella term Asian is fairly problematic. I'm sure once you looked a little closer, you would see some fairly dramatic differences between billionaire Chinese real estate investors and Vietnamese, Filipinos, Thai immigrants working 2 jobs to make rent. So I body him so badly here that he's going to hit me with an assault charge. Of course they are more privileged under these 4 metrics. In which metrics are European Americans more privileged than Asians? I gave you 4 metrics in which they aren't. You could say the same for white Americans. You think every single European ethnic group has the same experience? A poor Polish immigrant versus Anglo who has been here for generations? If you want to debate me, I've offered everyone a debate by the way, no one's taken it up. I need data to illustrate Asian-European gaps. You say they are underrepresented in certain areas. So what? They are overrepresented in certain areas too, specifically high-paying tech jobs. But keep pretending to be a victim, buddy. I continue. Just because they are underrepresented in certain area does not conclude racism. Perhaps they aren't interested in these fields on a group average. By the way, do you even fact check before you speak? I just googled the 2018 American Community Survey. These poor Filipino peasants you speak of are the 5th wealthiest ethnic group in the USA. They have an average household income of $89,000. Finraf, I don't know who you are, but at least you have a brain. Is talking about white privilege also problematic? You're grouping Europeans together based on the oppression some of them did not commit. Some white people were oppressed too. Some white people were even grouped in with Asians. This I did not know, so apparently Finnish Americans used to be considered Asian Mongoloids. The Finnoid question. This next guy, Band Up Murray, was actually acting in good faith. So your argument is that systemic racism is different based on which ethnic group you come from. Yes. And do you know the average wealth of Asian immigrants? My thought process is to come to America, you have to have some sort of wealth. So Asian privilege could stem from that. Yes, I agree. The privilege lies in selection bias. White privilege exists in the sense we're the majority population, therefore we are the beneficiaries of in-group preference more than others. The privilege also exists in Japan for Japanese people. Generally, it's best to be in the majority. Then some weirdo named Clockwork Crew squeals, "Demographic underrepresentation is systemic racism, right?" To which I reply, with such eloquence, demographic underrepresentation is systemic racism? What the fuck are you even talking about? In these 4 key life metrics, Asian Americans are doing better on a per capita basis than European Americans. If you want to debate, message me. Of course, he didn't message me, so we can continue. And my man Finn Raff picks up the slack and has a little debate with him. Clockwork Crew says systemic discrimination, yes, but not nearly as bad as how systemic racism affects African Americans in America. To which Finn Raff replies, then why do people like Vaush say people of color are treated worse than white people instead of African Americans? Precisely. Why do people say white privilege when some non-whites have the same privileges? It's not fair to single out a group like that. So this guy thinks that people of color are African Americans, and this bullshit with the 4 key indicating factors is not white privilege. White privilege is a cultural stigma that white people are more trustworthy and credible than other races. Honestly, are you this stupid? I've never heard white privilege described with this. Normally it's referring to the black-white gap, but anyway. Then why do politically correct channels on YouTube with almost as many followers as the population of Sweden say Asians are people of color? Bodied! Let me finish off, Clockwork Crew. Every country has cultural stigma. Whites are seen as less competent in other nations. Would love to see your meta-analysis on the extent of cultural stigmas that exist across nations, across racial groups, and see a comparison. You can't be like, "Durr, cultural stigma, durr." The cultural stigma is that Asians are actually smart. Have you ever heard the dumb blonde joke? Blonde hair is a European racial trait. Whites face plenty of cultural stigmas in the Western world, e.g., we can't dance, we have no culture, we're inherently racist. So no, cultural stigmas aren't systemic racism. It's just a fucking stereotype, you dumb motherfucker. Here comes Pikachu to save the day. There is also a metric you totally ignored, which is belonging to the dominant hegemonic culture. Well, at least she admits white people have culture. I bet she'd backtrack on that if you quizzed her. Whiteness is set as default and non-whites are othered. This is just a fact of existence. If you lived a non-white and specifically an Asian experience in the US, you would have antidote after antidote about being devalued in the classroom, in relationships, and in the workplace. There is no such thing as the Asian experience because experiences are tailored to your life. You can talk to one Asian that has never experienced racism, and you can talk to another who has experienced racism. This is why your antidotes are fucking worthless, you dumb bitch. She even recognizes how weak her argument is. I know that antidotes don't count as data, but masses of anecdotes have been collected by hundreds of sociologists. Well, show me the meta-analysis, show me the peer-reviewed paper, because at the moment you're speaking about specific anecdotes that your fucking little victimized mind has created in your head. Unfortunately, it continues. I also don't love getting bogged down by idpol and debating who has it worse in the oppression Olympics or whatever dog whistle people want to use. I think Asians have been specifically targeted as the minority to praise as a tactic to create division between minority groups. No, they have been singled out and targeted because they're actually doing better than European Americans in 4 key life metrics. Not your anecdotes, "Oh, I'm bullied in the classroom, oh." It continues. It's not useful for the leftist movement to spend our breath on idpol. Focusing on creating and passing legislation that fulfills people's material needs is our key focus. Asian people in this country, on average, do have fewer material needs. This is true, but to say that material needs are the only axis of oppression is just fundamentally not true. Ask any rich black person who has been brutalized by the police whether they think money cancels out identity. Well, it's interesting you bring up the police because white Americans on a per capita basis are shot more often, 3 times more often than Asian Americans by the police when unarmed. Also incarcerated more than Asian Americans. So please tell me about your victimized identity. If you think that Asian people are only ones who get bullied on an interpersonal level, you, my friend, oh my god, like I don't want to cuss. I could cuss you out to the moon and back, but let's keep this PC. Does Jiggity Jack got something to contribute to this conversation? Let's see. The higher income per capita does not account for the fact that Asians are more likely to have a college education compared to white Americans. That doesn't debunk Vaush. Well, I debunk you both here. Let's see. It's a cycle. They are richer, this leads to better education, leads to a higher chance of getting into a college degree. Next generation, it continues. White Americans have more degrees per capita than black Americans too, so you just debunked white privilege in terms of income per capita if this is your logic. Give me 4 key metrics where whites are outperforming Asians. If you can't provide them, then it's clear on a group level, Asians are more privileged. Imagine trying to say an ancestral group that live longer, earn more, are shot by the police less, and incarcerated less than European Americans are disadvantaged. The universities are also biased in the favor of Asians. At some of the best universities in the United States, Asians are the biggest or one of the biggest groups on campus. At the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the student body is 28% Asian American, and the University of California at Berkeley, 39% Asian American. Oh, little baby is so oppressed. Asians with bachelor degrees earn $1,000 more than white Americans with bachelor degrees. Asians with professional degrees earn $5,000 more than European Americans with professional degrees. So this debunks your notion that because Asians are more educated, they earn more, so it's fair. No, it's not. They're privileged. Accept your privilege. Asian fragility is real, I'm telling you guys. I thought this next comment was funny. Rohan Singular said, anti-Euro racism? Josh Marlowe replies, if a Pakistani rapes a white kid just because she's white, that's racism. Thousands of these cases have happened in Europe. Europeans aren't immune to racism. Silly boy. I agree, Josh. I agree. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do not forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of Vaush and his following? Are they disingenuous or are they just mentally not there? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, peace in the Middle East. I'm out.